is the first question, which is about the North Korean threat these days. So North Korea launched more than 75 missiles this year. It broke the previous record of 2019, which was 27 missiles. Also, Pyongyang used to show the tendency not to escalate tensions when the U.S. major strategic assets like aircraft carriers or strategic bombers were deployed to the Korean peninsula. But this time was different. It only escalated further when Washington strengthened its extended deterrence in the region. Pyongyang managed to demonstrate that Hwasong-17, which is the largest missile in the world, could reach the U.S. continent. How serious do you think are North Korean threats now? Should Seoul, Tokyo, and Washington be worried about it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's very important that we never forget that North Korea is an existential threat to South Korea. And I think we have to understand the nature of the Kim family regime, its objectives, and its strategy. And if we do that, then I think we can deal with North Korea and, and of course deter North Korea and protect South Korea. So is North Korea a threat? Absolutely. Obviously, its conventional weapons are obsolete, but as Stalin or Lenin or one of those guys said, that quantity has a quality all its own. So 1.2 million active military, 6.5 million, reserves. It's a formidable threat. And I think we should always remember that the North Korean military is postured for offensive operations. Its maneuver corps, and of course its artillery that is postured along the DMZ. It is arrayed to conduct offensive operations. The South Korean military is in defensive positions. The plans for the defense of Korea are just that, defense. They are not attack plans, despite what North Korea says. So its missiles, 75 missiles, that certainly is a record, and it's certainly something that brings fear to the minds of many. But again, I think we have to look at it in terms of its strategies. And its strategy, I think, is threefold. It is political warfare, blackmail diplomacy, and the pursuit of advanced warfighting capabilities. And so every provocation, of course, we look at it as a message to us. But I think first and foremost, we have to look at it, they must test their weapons to advance their capabilities. And so this is very important that they conduct these tests to advance their capabilities, whether it's missile and the full range of short range, medium range, intermediate range, and of course now intercontinental ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, long range rocket fire, and of course also submarine launched ballistic missiles. So they're trying to develop these advanced military capabilities. And again, the ultimate goal is to have warfighting capabilities to be able to win a war against South Korea. That said, these tests support political warfare and blackmail diplomacy. And by political warfare, I mean the North's use of all its instruments of power to subvert South Korea and subvert the ROK-US alliance, to drive a wedge in the ROK-US alliance, with the intent to establish the condition that North Korea needs to be successful in warfighting, and that is to drive the U.S. forces off the peninsula. And so that's its political warfare strategy. And then its blackmail diplomacy strategy, and that is the use of increased threats, tensions, and provocations to gain political and economic concessions. And so these tests clearly we can assess that they're intended to try to force us to give concessions. And of course, over the past 7 decades, we have done that. We have done everything we can to try to reduce tensions, and that has resulted in concessions over the years. And of course, what I think we recognize now is that by giving concessions, it causes Kim to judge his strategy a success, and he will double down and continue to do that. Now, in your comments, you mentioned that despite the deployment of strategic assets, Kim continued to conduct these tests. Yes, I think that is one way to look at it. I also, though, think that the alliance has demonstrated its strength and resolve, and it has deployed strategic assets reinvigorated the exercise program, conducted multiple exercises, and is ensuring readiness and interoperability, which is key to deterrence and defense. There was a decline in readiness because of not only President Trump's unilateral halting of exercise in 2018, but also the impact of COVID. So it's really important that the alliance reinvigorate the military capabilities, and we have been doing that. What we have been showing, though, I think is most important, is that Kim's strategy is actually failing. Yes, it makes the news for every missile launch, but he is not achieving his objectives. And the alliance just keeps getting stronger. And one thing I think we can know from history is that, one, Kim Jong-un is not stupid. He is not crazy. And he is smart enough to know that he must never attack into strength. And so what he is doing, he is trying to weaken the alliance, and it is only growing stronger. So yes, we must respect North Korea's military capabilities. They do put fear in the minds of those, especially here in Seoul, sitting under the artillery range of the DMZ. But the strength of the alliance has been successful, and I think will continue to successfully deter Kim Jong-un until he can no longer be deterred.
Well, in terms of North Korea's missile capability, we are worried in South Korea that if Kim Jong-un succeeds in developing the re-entry technology of ICBM, then he might be able to attack United States with multiple nuclear warheads probably. Then there might be a risk of security decoupling between Seoul and Washington. Then there might be the growing worry in South Korea that the United States will not defend South Korea. So in the future scenario, so how do you assess the current ability of North Korea in terms of developing the ICBMs, which can successfully attack the U.S. mainland?
Well, I agree. They are certainly pursuing that capability. They must. I mean, if they are developing ICBMs, they have to be developing that along with miniaturizing nuclear warheads, which we haven't seen evidence that they have achieved that as well. So that's a positive thing, although they surprise us over and over again. So they may have developed it, and they haven't shown it to us yet. They may be waiting for the right time. And it is the responsibility of the United States to defend the homeland. We have work to do with our ground-based interceptors and our capabilities to defend the homeland. But I take exception to your premise that if North Korea can successfully attack the U.S., that will lead to decoupling. That will be a major strategic error on the United States' part, because even though we decouple, that is no guarantee that the North still would not strike the United States. And so that would be a strategic mistake. In addition, though, that's a terrible thing if the United States homeland is attacked. But if South Korea is attacked, it is also a terrible thing for the United States. This small peninsula is at the nexus of really the entire world when you think about it. The second and third largest economy, China and Japan, the 10th largest, South Korea, two nuclear powers, China and Russia, a rogue nuclear state, the nexus of a huge military capability, China, Russia, Japan, North Korea, and South Korea. I mean, what happens on the Korean Peninsula is going to have global effects. And so the United States cannot, must not, and I don't think will ever decouple from South Korea. First, we must deter war, and second, we must be prepared for any contingency. And third, we must support the only solution to the Korea question here, the Korea question being the unnatural division of the peninsula, and we must support the Republic of Korea in achieving a free and unified Korea. But it would be a mistake to decouple, and I think that anybody who argues for that from a U.S. perspective is unaware and just does not understand how important this peninsula is to U.S. interests and our allies, Japan, Philippines, Thailand, Australia, to NATO. I mean, when you look at South Korea being invited to NATO, and now South Korea, I think, being a partner in the arsenal of democracy, providing advanced weaponry to NATO countries and to other countries, because the United States can't be the only arsenal of democracy. And so, our interests are very well aligned, and yet we understand and we respect the difficult position Korea is in, a shrimp among whales, the threat from the north, as well as the challenges from China.